Okay, so here we are at step 6 in the change process, which is adjustment. So this is the phase of change where a couple things happen. One is, your client starts out with a goal and they make their way through the phases of change and they get to the action phase and they start working the plan that they created in research and resource. And sometimes the goal that they set was too lofty. And so they might need to adjust it down, break down those big complex goals into smaller, more attainable goals. Sometimes the goal that they set for themselves isn't high enough, and they see that they've reached their initial goal quickly and they want to set a new, higher goal. But whatever the case may be, perhaps it wasn't the right goal to begin with. It needs to be a slightly different goal, or they need to add new components to it. The point is that the initial goal that they came up with, the initial plan that they came up with to get there, may need to be adjusted. This is normal. This is okay. And so you work with them during this phase. You try to bring them back to first principles, like what is it that they're actually trying to do? It's not just a plan for the sake of a plan. It's a plan for the sake of some kind of a goal. That is some kind of a value that they want to live out, some kind of belief that they want to live out. You're helping them to create a life that's worth living for them, a life that they're excited about, a life that has joy in it, a life where they feel healthy and alive and like they're fulfilling the purpose that they were created to fulfill. And so if a little bit of adjustment is what it takes to help get them there, that's absolutely fine. You can cheer them on in that process, help them think through it, be a sounding board, be an encourager, all of that good stuff, okay? As I mentioned in the last video, sometimes people change their mind. They decide, you know what, this wasn't really important to me after all. I actually don't want to do this. So if that's the case, then you know that they have relapsed all the way back to the status quo phase. Remember, I said in the last video that people relapse back to the phase of change that they didn't complete with the proper intrinsic motivation. So it's got to be something about their goals, their values, and beliefs that motivates them to work through the hard part of the change in order to get to the benefits of change, which, as I mentioned in the last video, could be a while. So this is kind of an exercise in delayed gratification, a little bit of short-term pain, struggle, challenge, adversity in order to reach that longer-term reward of health, productivity, relationship satisfaction, whatever it is that they're after. So relapse, like the adjustment, it's another kind of adjustment, I guess you could think about it as, because when you relapse, what you've learned is you're missing some intrinsic motivation. That's the proper way to look at relapse or regression. It's helping you to figure out what's missing from your plan. And that's another thing. It may not just be extrinsic motivation that's missing. It could be something about the plan itself that is missing. Maybe there's some kind of contingency that you failed to plan for, some kind of variable that you failed to plan for, some missing ingredient that you didn't even know you needed. But now that you're out there actually doing it, the way you thought it was going to be and the way it is just not quite the same. Like maybe you thought, hey, I'm a get up at 5 a.m. and run 5 miles person, but it turns out it's not you at all. You like to sleep in a little bit, and so maybe a 5 p.m. run right after work is better for you. Whatever the case, you got to experiment a little, and there's going to be a process of trial and error, and that is normal. Now, a couple things to mention here. First of all, a new coach is often worried that if their client isn't achieving their goals, then they're somehow failing them as a coach. That is not the case. First of all, remember, this is the client's work to do. You are there to help them, to come alongside, to support, but you can't do it for them. And, letting them know ahead of time, hey, part of this process is probably going to involve a little bit of trial and error. That way you kind of set their expectations. You want them to be hopeful, you want them to be optimistic, but you don't want them to be unrealistic. So they're going to go out there, they're going to try. They may encounter some obstacles, some difficulties. They come back, you talk about it, you encourage them, you validate them, you send them back out with a new and improved plan. That's how this works, okay? So it's normal. You're not failing as a coach if that happens. That's just a part of it, okay? You need to know that, and you can help set client expectations for that too. We don't want it to happen, but often it does, and it's okay. It's a chance to get stronger, to get better, okay? The other thing is that sometimes clients, when they fail, they feel a sense of shame. They are sometimes, dreading having to come to you and tell you that, they had this great plan, but they didn't actually follow through, or it didn't work, or they failed in some way, especially if there's a lot of shame around it already, like maybe it's a weight loss goal or an addiction issue, something where they've experienced some pain and maybe have a little bit of guilt or shame that they're carrying into this change process. So this is actually a great opportunity as a coach, and especially as a faith-based coach. This is an opportunity for you to show grace to your client. It's an opportunity for you to sort of reflect, Christ-likeness to them, and to give them experience of what it's like to be, loved in a brotherly or sisterly sense, in spite of performance. In other words, it's not performance based. Like, you're not waiting for them to be good enough before you like them, before you care for them, before you care about them. And so every time they come to you having failed, this is a fantastic opportunity to reflect grace to them. It's going to strengthen your relationship. It's going to deepen your trust and rapport, and it's going to give them what they need to move forward and go back out there and try again. So always, whenever someone relapses that you're trying to help, always, always, always reflect grace. Never disappointment, never anger, always grace. That's the way to go when it comes to regression. So that pretty much completes the change process. If they do regress back to a phase of change, maybe they regress back to, I don't think I need to change after all, or I don't know, maybe I need to change, maybe I don't. That's the considering change phase. Or maybe it was something about their plan and they relapse back to research and resource, back to the drawing board. They're trying to come up with a new plan. Or maybe they just relapse back to conviction, where they know they need to change, but they're not ready to try again. Wherever they relapse back to or regress to, that's where you want to meet them with the strategies that go with that phase of change, which we've already covered in these videos. Okay, so this is the process of change. And in the next video, I'll talk to you a little bit about the exercise that you're going to do to practice this new knowledge that you have about the process of change in a coaching session. So I will see you there.